In the middle of the night, I was awakened by a tap. I turned on the bedside lamp and saw Audrey sitting on my pillow, staring at me with a serious expression. Her gaze was unnervingly mature for a 3.5-year-old, giving me a bit of a fright. "How can you sleep at a time like this?" she said, her tone disconcertingly poised and calm. I recoiled in shock, my mind racing with all sorts of wild speculations. Possessed? Haunted? Or had she lost her soul? Audrey sighed, shuffling her little bottom closer to me. "Mom, I've traveled back in time from 20 years in the future." I was stunned, feeling her forehead. No fever, so why was she talking nonsense? She must be possessed after all. Her chubby little hand swatted mine away. Audrey said irritably, "I'm your daughter, no doubt about it. Dad's health was poor and he died young. You were so love-struck at the time that you slept with him, and you both weren't married when you got pregnant with me behind Grandma and Grandpa's backs. Then Dad died and you raised me alone, never daring to tell Grandma and Grandpa. Blimey, I'd never told her any of this. I'd only said her father had died." "You really are from the future?" Audrey nodded. "So how are we doing 20 years from now? Has your mom become a famous actress, rolling in money and living her best life?" To my dismay, Audrey shook her head. "Right now, you've got no acting skills, no looks, and we're barely scraping by. When you get older, you'll have no savings, no beauty, and no marketable skills. Life will be hell. The only reason you're not washing dishes in a restaurant is because I've got a scholarship." I blinked in disbelief. Am I really that badly off? "Well then, when you grow up, you can make my dreams come true. Mom's counting on you to make us rich." Audrey's eyes widened, and she pointed at me, her voice still childishly high-pitched as she scolded, "That's exactly what you say 20 years from now. But I'm already starting behind everyone else. I can barely support myself, let alone you. People need to rely on themselves, not others. You know what they say, don't put all your eggs in one basket." I nodded quickly. All right, I understand." Audrey nodded sagely and said, "If you want to achieve your dream of getting rich, from now on, you've got to listen to me." The next day, my agent called to say they'd booked me for a parent-child reality show. I remembered this show. It was known for being low budget and hadn't gained much popularity yet. I was about to refuse when Audrey covered my mouth. "Accept it," she insisted. I shook my head. Participating in reality shows was a waste of time. I'd rather work on improving my acting skills. Besides, only my agent knew I had a daughter. No one else did. In the entertainment industry, having a daughter was practically career suicide. Audrey glared at me. "Don't you want to get rich?" After accepting the offer and hanging up, Audrey explained, "This show hasn't been popular so far, but this episode is going to blow up. Plus, with your current rubbish acting skills, who'd want to hire you? You need to boost your popularity through reality TV first, you numpty." When I thought about it, it made sense. "I'll listen to you, my clever girl." The show was a live broadcast with 5 parent-child pairs participating. 2 pairs were ordinary people, while the rest were lesser-known figures from the entertainment industry. On the day of the broadcast, I dressed Audrey up beautifully. She looked like a little princess straight out of a fairy tale. Audrey stared at me, her body language screaming reluctance, but she didn't refuse. "Look how adorable you are," I said, adjusting her little pigtails. After getting dressed, I took Audrey to the live broadcast venue. I knew the show was low budget, but I hadn't realized just how low. Crispin, the director, came over to greet me. I pointed at a car plastered with Hello Kitty and Power Rangers stickers and asked, "Is that for the guests?" Crispin nodded. "Yes, but it might not fit everyone. There's another one over there." I followed Crispin's gaze to see a red 3-wheeler come into view. Basic, shabby, rundown. The paint was even peeling off. Soon, the other guests arrived one after another. 2 pairs were ordinary people, a mother and daughter, Jillian Potter and her little girl Poppy, and a father and son, Gareth Wainwright and his boy Barnaby. After exchanging greetings, the remaining 2 pairs arrived. As luck would have it, I recognized one of them, Bronte Carlyle, known for her pushy nature and sharp tongue, who had once competed with me for a female lead role. Her chubby son, Aubrey Ledbetter, didn't much resemble her. The last father-son duo I also knew, Florian Whitaker, whom I'd acted with before, and his son Josiah. It was quite something, not a single famous face among them. Crispin Blackwood began, "Welcome, everyone, to Love Island." After a barrage of opening remarks, the cameras focused on us standing in the center. I scooped up Audrey, who obligingly waved at the camera, flashing her sweet, adorable smile. "Hello, everyone. I'm Audrey," she chirped. Seeing this, Bronte also tried to lift her son, but he was too heavy. She stumbled before regaining her balance. "Hello, everyone. I'm Bronte, and this is my son, Aubrey," she managed. Aubrey mimicked Audrey's greeting, then snorted at her, full of challenge. Audrey rolled her eyes at him. "Little brat," she muttered. I gave her bottom a gentle pat. "Watch it, love. They might edit that in maliciously." Sure enough, Bronte's glare was already headed our way. After the introduction, Crispin spoke again. "Our filming location is in the countryside, not far from here. Please drive there yourselves." "Where are the cars?" Bronte asked. Crispin pointed to several old vehicles nearby. As expected, Bronte was furious. "What kind of rubbish cars are these? You expect us to ride in these?" Audrey whispered in my ear, "This will definitely make the final cut." I nodded. The production team loves these gimmicks to attract attention. Bronte continued, "Crispin, are you mad? Making us drive ourselves is one thing, but giving us these wrecks? I'm not doing this show anymore." Bronte grabbed Aubrey's hand and started to leave. Audrey commented, "She knows how to create live drama." Crispin chased after them, persuading Bronte. After much coaxing, he managed to bring them back. "Bronte and Winifred will take the rickshaw. The rest of you will ride in the van, but we need to leave one seat for the cameraman. So you'll have to decide which little darling goes in the rickshaw." Separating a child from their parents to ride in a rickshaw, the director certainly knows how to create drama. Who would agree to this? Sure enough, arguments broke out on the other side. Audrey sighed, "See? This is bound to be a hit." The impasse continued, with no one willing to let their child go, fearing for their safety. Meanwhile, things weren't much calmer on our side. Bronte looked down her nose at me, rolling her eyes. "Well, if it isn't Winifred Barlow, the one who stole my role by sleeping her way to the top. You have such a big daughter? Don't you worry about setting a bad example? Aren't you afraid she'll grow up to be just like you?" She deliberately raised her voice, as if ensuring the live stream could hear every word. "I may not be great at acting, but I excel at verbal sparring." I flipped my hair, turning my most photogenic left profile to the camera with a dazzling smile. "Oh, I remember now. But I think you've misunderstood. Alaric is famous for being fair and strict, and his wife is notoriously jealous. I couldn't possibly have the ability to seduce him. Otherwise, how could I end up with just a small supporting role? The truth was, I was chosen purely because my appearance better matched the character." I feigned surprise, covering my mouth. "Is this hostility because your self-recommendation failed, and now you're lashing out in embarrassment?" Bronte's eyes widened. "You dare." I cut her off. "Oh my, one must walk an honest path in life. You can't always resort to underhanded methods. It sets a terrible example for children." I glanced at her son, and Audrey, quick on the uptake, chimed in with her sweet voice. "Auntie shouldn't do bad things, okay? It might teach big brother Aubrey naughty habits." Aubrey protested, "I'm not big. But you can call me brother." He blushed after speaking. Clearly, he was smitten by Audrey's adorable appearance. Bronte glared at her son, then dragged him away in a huff. Audrey called out innocently, "Big brother Aubrey, don't learn from Auntie, okay?" I turned away, struggling to contain my laughter. On the other side, Florian Whitaker finally stepped forward. "Josiah, are you scared?" he asked. Josiah shook his head and pointed at Audrey. "I'm not scared. That little girl is so cute. I like her." Audrey flashed him a brilliant smile, and his eyes lit up as he ran over to her. I called out to Florian, "Don't worry, I'll protect her." That situation was resolved, but we encountered another problem on our side. No one could drive. I had a license but no car. It had been years since I'd passed my test, and I'd barely touched a steering wheel since then. I'd forgotten most of what I'd learned from my instructor. As for Bronte, she couldn't drive at all. Bronte's eyes narrowed. "Director," she shouted. But the director's car had already left with Florian and the others, leaving only a cameraman with us. Bronte glared at me fiercely. "Winifred, there's no way I'm getting in a car with you driving." I had been hesitating, but after she said that, I immediately hopped into the driver's seat, lifting Audrey and Josiah in with me. "Well, you can walk then," I said. Bronte shouted, "I quit. I'm going home." She grabbed Aubrey and turned to leave. I couldn't be bothered to even look at her. "Hold on tight, I need to get a feel for this," I said. Just as I started the engine, Bronte returned with Aubrey and got in the car without a word. "Winifred, if we crash, you'll have hell to pay," she warned. Audrey and Josiah clung tightly to my waist, afraid of falling off. After some twists and turns, I got more comfortable with the controls. The road was wide and there weren't many cars, so it wasn't too difficult to drive. However, our good fortune didn't last long. As we approached a steep slope, even Audrey cried out in fear, "Mom, slow down. It's too steep, we'll flip over." Josiah added, "Auntie, please slow down. I'm scared." I had the brake pedal pressed to the floor, fighting back tears. "What if I told you the brakes have failed? Would you believe me?" I asked desperately. The next second, the car spun out of control. "Winifred! Winifred! Stop the car! Stop the car! I can't stop it!" I shouted. The handbrake and foot brake were both fully engaged, but they weren't working. Damn the Love Island production team. "Mummy, I don't want to die." Aubrey Ledbetter suddenly burst into tears. Following suit, little Josiah started crying in fear, and Audrey, not wanting to be left out, began wailing as well. Bronte was still yelling, "If we flip over, you'll be in big trouble." What was ahead on the slope? A sharp turn. This was pure madness. "Audrey, Josiah, hold on to me tight. Everyone in the back, grab onto something. We're about to turn." Like a dragon's tail, we swerved. With a graceful drift, we nearly tipped over. Fortunately, the weight in the back stabilized the car's body. As we turned the corner, I spotted the production crew. Crispin, the director, was waving at us cheekily from the middle of the road. Seeing that he had no intention of moving, I shouted, "Get out of the way. The brakes have failed." Crispin's face changed dramatically as he leapt aside. "Quick, quick, grab the cart," he yelled. The crew rushed forward and together managed to stop the tricycle. Finally, we were safe. After the fear subsided, anger took over. I didn't care about offending Crispin at this point. "Are you mad, director? Are you willing to risk our lives for the show's effect?" "There are 3 children on board." Audrey and Josiah shouted in unison, "Are you crazy?" Crispin hurried to explain, "No, no, no. We're live streaming. How could I possibly do something so dangerous? That would be asking for trouble. The tricycle seller must have tricked us." I looked at him suspiciously, only relaxing when I was sure he wasn't lying. Audrey suddenly piped up, "We've been terrified. You need to make it up to us properly. I'll prepare a mysterious gift package for you during the next part of the challenge," Crispin offered. The others were clearly unsatisfied. Someone muttered, "Who knows if they didn't sabotage the brakes themselves just to get the mystery gift package?" I turned to the speaker, pointing at the tricycle. "Go on then, you ride that broken tricycle down the hill, and I'll give you the mystery gift package right away." Crispin stepped in to smooth things over. The next challenge, he explained, was for us to find accommodation with local families in a nearby village for 4 days and 3 nights. The production team wouldn't provide any daily necessities. 4 days and 3 nights? I thought it was just for today. Jillian exclaimed, shocked. I had thought the same, which is why I hadn't brought anything with me. Crispin chuckled, this was a last-minute decision. I'll need to ask everyone to hand over any cash and mobile phones you have on you. The production team will keep them safe for now. With the director's call of off you go, 5 cameramen followed us into the village. At the entrance, there was a large yellow dog that started barking loudly when it saw us, frightening Jillian's daughter to tears. Audrey walked over, producing a sweet as if by magic. Here's a sweet for you, don't cry now. She stood on her tiptoes, trying to reach the little girl. Jillian crouched down so Tabitha could take the sweet from her shoulder. She smiled at Audrey, saying, "Thank you." Tabitha, still sniffling, also thanked her politely. And so, the two of us walked together. We walked for a long time, but I couldn't find a suitable family to stay with. Jillian asked, puzzled. We've passed several houses that looked quite nice. I nodded, then shook my head. With children, we need to find a family that has kids too. Otherwise, how will the girls manage when they need to change clothes? We hadn't brought anything with us, after all. Jillian's eyes widened in realization. You're so thoughtful. I smiled and continued walking deeper into the village. Finally, we found a house with children's clothes hanging in the yard. Just as I was about to go in, Jillian stepped in front of me. Hello? Is anyone home? She called out. I paused, watching as someone came out to greet Jillian and her daughter with great enthusiasm. I turned and walked towards another area. Audrey, beside me, complained, I thought Aunt Jillian was so nice, but she's stealing our chance. I looked down at her, ruffling her hair. It's all right, we'll keep looking. Besides, that house might not have been ideal anyway. Are you tired? Do you want me to carry you? I asked. Audrey shook her head. After walking for a while, I saw a couple in the garden making a video call. The laughter of children could be heard from their phone. Once they finished their call, I let Audrey inside and explained our purpose. The lady was very welcoming. Of course you can stay. This little one is adorable, just like my granddaughter, all rosy-cheeked. Audrey sweetly called out, Grandma. With that one word, she completely won the lady's heart, who couldn't stop hugging Audrey. Grandpa, Audrey then said. The gentleman immediately responded, Oh, come here my sweet granddaughter. Grandpa's got some treats for you. Audrey certainly had a way of charming people. After lunch, the production team called us to gather and assigned our first task. We were to prepare dinner for our host family using only the ingredients they had available. This was my chance to shine. While I might not be a famous actress with great acting skills, I'm brilliant in the kitchen. I left Audrey outside to entertain the elderly couple while I rolled up my sleeves and got to work. Suddenly, there was a commotion outside, with loud noises and what sounded like an explosion. Mom! I turned to see Audrey running in on her little legs, her face lit up with excitement. Mrs. Carlyle blew up their kitchen. There's a big row, come quick! Well, I couldn't miss out on this drama, could I? I quickly turned off the stove, scooped up Audrey, and ran outside, craning my neck to see what was happening at Bronte's place. It was still a bit far to hear clearly, so I hurried over, absolutely thrilled. When we reached the cottage, I realized quite a few villagers had already gathered to watch the spectacle. In the garden, Bronte and the older lady were covered in spots and stains. Aubrey stood behind Bronte, looking dazed and shocked. The older lady had her hands on her hips, shouting with gusto, If I hadn't been quick enough to drag you out, you'd have been blown to bits, you know. Bronte wasn't backing down either. I haven't even complained about you scaring us yet, and here you are blaming me? You should be grateful I'm even staying at your place. The two of them continued hurling insults at each other, quite unpleasant to hear, though Bronte was mindful enough of her image not to use any swear words. However, she seemed to have forgotten about Aubrey beside her. He just stood there, looking as if his soul had left his body. I tapped Audrey on her little shoulder, and she immediately understood what I meant, running over to Aubrey. Though reluctant, Audrey took Aubrey's hand. I sighed. Bronte was really going all out for those trending topics, even at the expense of her son. Come on, we've still got dinner on the stove, I said. Audrey led Aubrey in front, with me following behind, not forgetting to glance back at Bronte and the others a couple of times. After bringing Aubrey Ledbetter back home, we had barely started our meal when Bronte Carlyle burst in, disheveled and screaming. "Winifred, give me back my son," she shrieked. She yanked Aubrey behind her and launched into an attack on me. "What are you playing at, Winifred? Trying to kidnap my son? He's mine, not yours." I was left utterly bewildered by her outburst. Once she had finished her tirade, I applauded her sincerely. "When did you change your character like this?" "Impressive." Audrey chimed in from the side. "We're live streaming, you know." "You look awful, Aunt Bronte, but don't worry, it's all about the views, right?" Bronte was so furious she could barely speak. She dragged Aubrey away. Aubrey, as if suddenly coming to his senses, burst into tears and reached for Bronte to carry him. Audrey shook her head. His delayed reaction is something else. Bronte struggled to carry him, huffing and puffing as she left. "It's all right, let's continue our meal," I said. Early the next morning, we were woken by the production team's megaphone and dragged out before we could even wash our faces. The team announced the task. The children had to take money and go to the village market to buy breakfast on their own, without any help from adults. The kicker? Each child was only given £1. I couldn't contain my frustration. "Director, can we cut down on the begging? If the show's budget is that tight, just say so. We can cover the breakfast costs." The director replied, "That's not the point. This is an opportunity for the children to learn. Then at least give them enough money." £10 would be enough for a few scones, I argued. Buying breakfast with just £1, how is that different from begging? Are they taking advantage of the children's innocence and the cameras to emotionally blackmail people? Audrey put on a serious face and said matter-of-factly, £1 might buy one scone. Are we supposed to share it? That's not enough. The director laughed. People will give you extra because you're cute. Audrey retorted, then why give us money at all? Why not just ask us to beg outright? The director was speechless and glared at me. I looked away, pretending not to notice. It was the truth, after all. It was already embarrassing enough to be freeloading off the villagers, and now they wanted the kids to buy breakfast with just £1? What could they possibly get? Ignoring our protests, the director urged the children to set off. Before leaving, Audrey looked at me with a maturity beyond her years. "Don't worry, I won't let you go hungry." I patted her little head and nodded. Of all the children, Audrey was the least of my worries. I just felt the production team's approach was wrong. The production team gathered everyone together to wait and see which child would return first. The first to come back was Gareth Wainwright's son, Barnaby. He was running towards them, puffing and panting, with a small bag in his hand. Barnaby's cheeks were flushed red as he caught his breath. "Dad, your favorite full English breakfast." Gareth kissed his son's cheek before taking the breakfast. "Well done, son. Tell Dad how you got it." He deliberately avoided using the word buy. Barnaby said, "I asked the owner if I could pay later, promising we'd settle the bill after filming." "Good. After we finish filming, Dad will go with you to pay the owner." Tabitha and Josiah returned together, their hands full of even more food, including what appeared to be fruit and snacks. Tabitha was particularly excited. Mummy, I'm back." The aunties and uncles gave me so many yummy things. Jillian hugged her daughter with a smile. "My clever girl, you've got so many treats." Josiah added, "The shop owners on the street were so nice. They saw how adorable Tabitha was and gave her lots of goodies." Tabitha shared plenty with me too. Bronte Carlyle looked rather unhappy, craning her neck as if expecting Aubrey Ledbetter to appear any second. After waiting for about half an hour more, a small figure finally appeared on the road. It was Aubrey. He didn't look too pleased, and was only carrying 2 scones. Bronte stood up immediately, but upon seeing the scones in his hands, she looked incredulous. "Just 2 scones? Didn't you get Mummy's favorite? No fruit either?" At this outburst, Aubrey burst into tears. I shook my head watching this. Bronte had truly lost it, speaking without thinking. I rested my chin on my hand, gazing down the road. Though I knew Audrey didn't need my worry, I couldn't help feeling concerned. Another half hour passed with no sign of Audrey, which started to make me anxious. Bronte remarked. Maybe Audrey couldn't get anything and is too embarrassed to come back. I don't know how you're raising that child. Gareth also chimed in. Perhaps we should go look for her. She's still young, what if she's lost or in trouble? I was worried, but not overly so. I waved off Gareth's suggestion. It's all right, she'll be back. Finally, under the watchful gaze of a dozen pairs of eyes, Audrey's small figure appeared in the distance. Audrey! I sprinted towards her. You scared me to death. Audrey's forehead was drenched in sweat, her hair clinging to her face, looking utterly disheveled. Mummy, take this quickly. It's so heavy, she panted. I hastily took the box from her hands. It was indeed quite heavy, but that didn't stop me from scooping her up into my arms with my free hand. What's this? I asked as we walked back. Soup and stew. Still hot, she chirped. Where did you get it? I inquired, seeing her state and sensing it wasn't easy. Audrey giggled. I went to work. That's why I'm late. Everyone was shocked by this statement. Jillian Potter was the first to voice her surprise. Work? Audrey, you're only 3. Aubrey Ledbetter, who had been quiet until now, mumbled. Audrey went to help clear tables and wipe them at the coffee shop. I wanted to help too, but I broke a bowl, so she wouldn't let me anymore. Audrey retorted, you'd have to pay for the broken bowl. Do you have money? The owner didn't make you pay because you're small and he felt bad, but he still has to buy a new one himself. Bronte Carlyle rolled her eyes dramatically, working at such a young age? I don't believe it. Audrey, in her childish voice, shot back, believe it or not, my mummy has hot soup and stew to eat. Do you? Mummy always says it's right and proper to exchange your labor for food. If we used £1 to buy breakfast for 2 people today, would we expect to buy a house for £1 tomorrow? What kind of daydream is that? If you want something, you have to work for it. Isn't that right, Mummy? Audrey looked up at me. That's right, Audrey. You're brilliant, I said, giving her a thumbs up. I'll never admit that I hadn't actually said that quote Audrey attributed to me. Gareth Wainwright, who had been mostly silent, suddenly spoke up, addressing me directly. You've raised Audrey very well. The look in his eyes was as if he was appraising a potential match, filled with approval and satisfaction. Surely he hadn't come on the show to find a mum for Barnaby Wainwright. I didn't dare respond. I still had my career as a big star to consider. Best to avoid any implications. After breakfast, the director began to arrange other tasks. We can't just eat and stay at the villagers' homes for free, can we? I've organized for everyone to help with some farm work and experience rural life, Crispin said. While Crispin talked about experiencing life, he quickly handed out wicker baskets and hoes, not even sparing the children. Audrey wore a delicate little dress, with a small wicker basket on her back and a small hoe in her hand, looking both out of place and adorable. She swiftly tossed the small hoe into the basket. As her mother, I was impressed by her coolness. Tabitha tried to imitate her, but overshot, hitting Barnaby Wainwright behind her. Seeing this, Jillian immediately went to pick up Barnaby. Barney, are you all right? I'm so sorry, Tabitha didn't mean to. Tabitha was also a bit frightened and timidly said sorry in a very small voice. Jillian, however, focused solely on the injury on Barnaby's forehead, ignoring Tabitha. Audrey tilted her head innocently and said, Mum, Barnaby's fine. Why does Auntie Jillian keep holding him and not paying attention to Tabitha? Gareth Wainwright, who had come over after hearing the commotion, gave me a meaningful look upon hearing Audrey's words. Wait, why look at me? This has nothing to do with me. The villagers had jointly planted a large field of turnips, and our task for the day was to help pull and carry them. Just as I was about to tell Audrey to be careful, I saw her bouncing forward with a joyful face. Pull turnips, pull turnips, pull turnips to stew with beef. Be careful, don't fall, I still cautioned, feeling uneasy. Audrey waved at me without looking back. I know, you too. To be honest, these turnips were really deeply rooted. I squatted down, using all my strength, nearly grinding my back teeth, and finally with a pop, it broke. The momentum sent me falling backwards. I crashed into someone. Gareth Wainwright stood behind me, looking down at me with a slightly flustered expression. And I was sprawled on the ground. Just as I was about to scramble up, he quickly bent down to help me up, carefully brushing off the dirt from my clothes. "Are you all right? Did you hurt yourself?" I hurriedly stepped back, feeling a bit embarrassed. "I'm fine." "Did I hit you just now?" He shook his head with a smile. "No, let me show you how to pull them. The way you're doing it won't work, and you might break them." As soon as he finished speaking, we heard Audrey's ouch from not far away. She had fallen on her back just like me. Barnaby, who was following her, immediately tried to help her up, but seeing she was wearing a dress, he went to cover her skirt to prevent her from exposing herself, quite flustered. Audrey got up by herself and patted the dirt off her clothes. Barnaby said, "You can't pull them out like that. Let me teach you. My grandfather taught me how to pull turnips." Gareth also squatted down next to me, his long, strong fingers with distinct knuckles grasping the part of the turnip that was above ground, shaking it back and forth, left and right. "First, shake it like this to loosen the soil a bit. Then he pulled while continuing to shake. This way it comes out." He looked up at me, his eyes curved, looking very approachable and kind. It's not my fault that this was my first reaction, but from the beginning, the impression Gareth gave me was that of a successful businessman, cold and bad-tempered. At this moment, Jillian suddenly came over, squatting beside Gareth, saying with a troubled expression, "I'm not that strong, will it be very difficult to pull?" Gareth didn't even look up. "No, it won't." Ignoring Jillian and Gareth, I buried myself in work. After all, the cameras were on us, and I had to maintain my image. But as time went on, whether squatting or bending over to pull weeds, it became exhausting. As the sun began to set, I collapsed on the ground. I can't go on. I swear I have the body of a 20-year-old but the back of an 80-year-old. Gareth, who had been squatting, saw me lying on the ground without regard for appearances and sat down as well. He asked me an oddly unexpected question. "Are you really only 20? Audrey looks about 3, so you." His eyes held a look of concern as he gazed at me. He seemed so eager to spark rumors about us, even though I had already given him space with Jillian. I sat up and explained dryly, "No, I was just making a comparison. It's like how women always claim to be 18. Jillian suddenly chimed in, "Winifred must be about 25 or 26, but you look young for your age. You could easily pass for early 20s. At first, I even thought Audrey was your little sister." Jillian's interjection seemed casual, her tone joking, but I knew better. I've heard far more backhanded comments than hers. However, at the moment, I wasn't about to respond in kind. I was hoping she'd keep talking and draw Gareth's attention. Seeing that I didn't reply, Jillian seemed to realize something and suddenly covered her mouth, looking at me guiltily. "I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to. I just wanted to say you look young." "Oh, I'm so clumsy with words. Please don't misunderstand, Winifred." I had intended to ignore her, but couldn't she be less dramatic? So, I tilted my head innocently and said, "I didn't misunderstand. Weren't you complimenting me on looking young?" Jillian's expression froze for a moment. "Why yes, that's right." I smiled, getting to my feet. "I'm going to check on Audrey. You two chat." To my dismay, Gareth stood up right after me. "I'll go see Barnaby too." "Let's go together." Inwardly, I was screaming, "No, mate. I'm really not interested in you." Audrey was nowhere to be found. I searched the fields for a while but couldn't spot her anywhere. After asking around, I learned from the villagers that she had taken a few little ones to play in the vegetable storage shed. When I arrived, I caught sight of Audrey with one hand on her hip, directing Barnaby and the others to arrange the vegetables. Seeing me, Audrey's serious little face broke into a smile. "Time for dinner? Let's head back, it's getting dark," I nodded. Gareth asked from behind me, "What game were you playing?" Audrey explained in her childish voice. Aubrey and the others weren't behaving. The aunties said we mustn't throw the vegetables around in the shed, and definitely not damage them. She pointed to the broken vegetables in the corner of the shed. But they actually threw them and even took a bite. When they didn't like the taste, they just tossed them away. How naughty! So I'm making them arrange the vegetables neatly, and they'll have to apologize to the aunties later. Aubrey whined, I didn't mean to. Josiah hit me first, and I got upset and threw the vegetable. Josiah immediately shouted, I hit you with my hand, but you threw a vegetable at me. That really hurt. Barnaby shook his head and sighed, I just came over to break up the fight when they started, and Audrey gave me a telling off too. I didn't even do anything wrong. Bronte, who had just arrived upon hearing her son had been hit, immediately became protective. Who hit my son? Step forward. Florian followed closely behind, crouching down to ask gently, Did you hit first? Josiah's eyes were already red, and he tearfully explained, I didn't mean to. I just wanted to play with him, but he kept ignoring me. So I pushed him a little, and then he suddenly turned and threw a vegetable at me. Florian's voice was gentle but carried an undeniable authority, apologize first. Josiah, I'm sorry. Florian was about to speak when Bronte cut in. Is sorry all there is to it? Look at how badly my son's been hit. This isn't over. Florian didn't back down either. What do you want? Josiah hit first, and he's apologized. Does that make it right for Aubrey to turn around and throw vegetables at people? But he started it. That was indeed undeniable. Just as the two were about to start arguing, Audrey called out loudly, Josiah didn't hit anyone. He just gave Aubrey a little push. I was right there. Then Aubrey turned around and picked up a vegetable to throw. I almost got hit too. Aubrey suddenly pointed at Audrey and burst into tears, It's your fault for ignoring me. I wanted to talk to you, but you wouldn't even look at me. It's all because of you. Audrey and I exchanged exasperated looks. I summarized, so, you were angry that Audrey was ignoring you, and you took it out on Josiah. Florian, Bronte. He had barely started when Bronte grabbed Aubrey and ran off. Gareth asked Audrey, they were being so naughty. How did you get them to behave and arrange the vegetables? Audrey gave him a withering look, obviously because I was even scarier. I quickly covered her mouth, that's not something you should say. We couldn't let her sweet and adorable image be ruined. As Audrey and I returned home, I was famished enough to eat a horse. Thankfully, my aunt and uncle had already prepared dinner. Audrey and I tucked in, and just as we were finishing our meal, we heard Crispin Blackwood's voice from outside. Winifred, Audrey, a surprise is waiting for you. Come out quickly! Our eyes lit up, and we dashed outside. The village green was bustling with activity. A bonfire, villagers, and a roast beef on a spit. I patted my already full stomach, and Audrey mirrored my action. I think I can still eat a bit more, she said, eyeing the sizzling roast beef. I nodded, let's put aside the actress diet for now. I could manage a bit more too. We ran over and sat down, practically salivating at the aroma. A hand from beside me offered 2 slices of beef. I took them, popping one into Audrey's mouth and the other into mine. What took you so long to join us? The person asked. I was too focused on the roasting beef to look at who was speaking. Bloody Crispin didn't give us any warning. Audrey and I were just finishing dinner. Can you still eat more? The person chuckled. Audrey and I nodded vigorously. You can have my share then. Though it might not taste as good if you reheat it in the morning. I finally turned to thank this generous soul. When I saw who it was, my gratitude turned to hesitation. Oh, that won't be necessary. I had thought it was some kind-hearted village lad, but it turned out to be Gareth Wainwright. I couldn't accept that. Gareth looked at me, the flickering flames casting an ever-changing light on his face. Winifred, are you afraid of me? I shook my head. I wasn't afraid, I just didn't want to fuel any dating rumors. He continued, have I done something to make you uncomfortable? I wanted to cry. Couldn't he avoid asking such questions on camera? It's so easy for people to misunderstand. Winifred, Mommy! Dance, dance. I want to go dancing. Audrey interrupted, pointing at the people twirling around the bonfire and tugging at my arm. All right, I'll take you, I said, seizing the opportunity to escape this awkward situation. After having roast beef and dancing, I exchanged a few polite words with the guests before heading back with Audrey, who was already getting sleepy. On the way home, Audrey, leaning on my shoulder, asked, "Don't you want to find me a dad?" "How cruel of you. It's already so hard for me to raise you, and now you want to drag me into the grave of love? I just thought it might be easier if you found a rich dad. You look so tired doing everything alone." I chuckled. You know what? You're right. Some dishes are just not meant for my table. In TV shows, the rich bosses are handsome, wealthy, and hand out black cards like candy. In reality, they're pot-bellied, greasy-faced, and often have peculiar habits. That's a meal I simply can't stomach. I don't have the ability to find a good-looking, wealthy sugar daddy who'd be interested in me anyway. I woke up to find that today's task had been assigned. We were to help the villagers sell carrots through a live stream, with the first-place winner securing benefits for their host family. Fortunately, Audrey had quite a following, and her army of online fans was incredibly supportive. With sweet-talking Audrey around, I barely had to do anything. I just stood there as a background prop, occasionally munching on a carrot. During the live stream, we all stood in a line. Jillian Potter was on my left, and Florian Whitaker on my right. Florian, being a seasoned pro in front of cameras, was completely at ease. Jillian, on the other hand, seemed rather tense, constantly urging Tabitha to learn from Audrey. Tabitha, naturally shy, started off okay, managing to stammer out a few words. But as the pressure mounted, she became increasingly flustered, her eyes welling up with tears. I shook my head at the sight and couldn't help but pat Audrey's head appreciatively. My little darling was always so reliable. Audrey turned and glared at me. "You've messed up my hair." "Oh, I'm so sorry." I quickly smoothed her hair back into place. As the live stream concluded, to no one's surprise, Audrey claimed first place. When Crispin Blackwood asked her what benefit she wanted, she tilted her head thoughtfully before saying, "Could you pay for the grandparents' granddaughter to come home? If not, then just give the grandparents some money." That would be practical. I silently gave her a thumbs up. Always so practical, indeed. Mr. Blackwood hesitated, looking a bit uncomfortable. "I'm afraid that might be." Audrey didn't give him a chance to refuse. "It's just travel expenses, Mr. Blackwood. Surely a big-shot director like you can afford a few £100 for train tickets?" With that, Mr. Blackwood had no choice but to agree, albeit reluctantly. I thought that would be the end of the day's events, but little did I know, the real drama always unfolds in the afternoon. Audrey definitely has a knack for detective work. I had just finished telling the others about Mr. Blackwood's promise when Audrey came running in, saying Jillian had been kicked out. I rushed to the scene immediately. There I saw Jillian and Tabitha barred from entering, with cameras behind them. Inside the doorway stood the family's daughter-in-law, cradling a baby. Jillian stepped forward, her expression strained. "I didn't mean to lose the live stream, but can't we talk about this civilly? It's quite rude to throw people out like this." The woman holding the baby seemed on the verge of a breakdown. "Talk civilly? Rude? You're one to talk about manners, doing the housework and all. But what about your daughter's manners? She stares at me when I'm breastfeeding, and just when I've finally gotten the baby to sleep, she starts crying and wakes her up. And I can't even scold her without being called petty. I've put up with so much from you already, but why do you have to keep twisting the knife in my heart?" Jillian's eyes welled up. "That's not true. I didn't mean it like that. Please don't say such things, I was just concerned about you." The woman lost control and shouted, "Just shut up. Take your concern and get out. Get out of my house. This is my house. Mine." In her agitated state, she held the baby too tightly, causing it to cry out in pain. She looked down at the infant. "Stop crying. Why are you crying? I wasn't even shouting at you. Why do you always have to cry?" These were typical signs of postpartum depression. Logically, Jillian should have left at this point, to avoid further agitating the woman. But she didn't follow logic. She stepped forward, reaching out to comfort the baby, saying, "Don't be harsh with her, she's just a baby, she doesn't understand anything, you." Seeing this, the woman completely lost it and screamed, "Get out! Get out!" I quickly pulled Jillian away, while Audrey took Tabitha. Jillian, crying, asked me, "Winifred, am I really that unlikable? She can be angry at me if she wants, but how can she take it out on the baby?" I rolled my eyes. "If you know you're annoying, why did you go and provoke her? Are you going through postpartum too? You're nearly 30, use your brain a bit." Jillian lowered her head. I didn't mean to. Just stay away from her, will you? If you really push her over the edge and she jumps off a building with the baby, how many lives do you have to make up for it? After giving birth, a woman's hormones drop dramatically, making her emotionally unstable and prone to overthinking. Jillian stimulating her like this was truly thoughtless. Jillian looked up at me, tears streaming down her face. "How can you say such things to me? It's her own fault for having poor mental resilience, I didn't do anything wrong." I couldn't help but roll my eyes again. "You didn't do anything wrong? You just poured salt on her wounds, that's all. What could possibly be wrong with that?" Tired of dealing with her, I turned and walked away. Before leaving, I instructed the production crew to keep an eye on the woman's situation. From what I'd seen earlier, there didn't seem to be anyone else at home with her. I was worried she might do something rash in a moment of despair. I had someone keep an eye on that woman, but I still couldn't shake off my unease. Not long after we returned, I heard that the woman had attempted suicide with her child, but was discovered by her in-laws who rushed back and took her to the hospital. Because it was a live broadcast, it was impossible to edit out. Jillian Potter's infamous remarks had already spread across the internet, causing a severe backlash. Under pressure, Crispin Blackwood ended the live broadcast a day early. On our way back, Audrey and I checked the news online. Jillian Potter had been viciously attacked on social media. Someone had dug up Jillian's background. She wasn't divorced but separated from her husband, allegedly because he had an affair. Ironically, she herself had been the other woman in a previous relationship. While Jillian was being criticized, Audrey gained a massive following, and I rode the wave of popularity as well. My agent wasted no time in contacting me, urging me to continue with family-oriented reality shows. Following Audrey's advice, I declined. She said this show would remain popular for quite some time, and I could use this period to hone my acting skills, aiming to star in a decent production and surprise everyone. I made a determined effort to convince my agent. Receiving my agent's approval, I breathed a sigh of relief. The main reason was that with this show's success, I now had the means to enroll her in a better nursery school. Previously, when money was tight, I wasn't comfortable with the security at those nurseries. So I always hired a nanny to look after Audrey, and I'd care for her myself when I wasn't busy. Upon hearing about nursery school, Audrey sighed. "In my previous life, I was this close to getting into Cambridge." "Oh. How so?" I asked. Audrey looked a bit downcast, then suddenly determined, "If I ever date too young again, I'm a dog." That rubbish held me back. I missed it by just 3 points. I patted her little shoulder sympathetically. "If you date too young, you're a dog, and I'll break your dog legs. Men aren't as important as your future, silly child. Men would only slow down my money-making and take my money. Can't be bothered with that nonsense." 2 weeks later, my agent told me they'd secured a script for me. It was for a supporting role, not many scenes, but very impactful. If I could nail it, I might gain some popularity. The lead actress was Meredith Ledbetter, the top star from our agency. My agent asked her to mentor me. The moment I met her, I was struck by how stunning Meredith was. She was infinitely more beautiful in person than on TV, and very amiable too. The day before joining the crew, I gave Audrey many instructions. She had been wanting to dismiss the nanny, insisting she could take care of herself, but I hadn't agreed. No matter how old her soul might be, her body was still only 3.5 years old. If something were to happen accidentally, I couldn't risk it. Children should never touch hot water, electrical outlets, knives, and... All right, my ears are about to grow calluses," she interrupted. "Okay then, let's sleep together for one last night." "Fine, let's sleep. I'll take good care of myself, and you do the same." The next morning, when I woke up, Audrey was already awake, watching me. I didn't know how long she'd been up. "What time is it?" "6 o'clock. Get up and get ready, I'll see you off to the set." At that moment, she seemed more like the adult than me. After washing up, brushing teeth, and having breakfast, Audrey saw me out and we got into a taxi together. When we reached the destination, I got out while she waved goodbye from inside the car. "Goodbye, I'll be waiting for you to come back." As the car window closed, I realized I was already missing Audrey. During the filming, I didn't forget to learn, often seeking advice from Meredith. She was very kind, patiently teaching me without any star attitude. No wonder she's the pillar of our company. My scenes weren't many, so I wrapped up after half a month. Finally, I could see Audrey again. I rushed home excitedly, but there was no one there. "Where is she?" "It's Saturday, and I said yesterday I'd be home after the wrap party." Audrey didn't wait for me. Something must be wrong. I called the nanny and found out Audrey had been beaten up at nursery and was in hospital. I rushed to the hospital to find Audrey sitting in the corridor with an 4 drip, her face bruised. In that moment, my eyes welled up and I couldn't help but cry. From the day she was born, I'd never let Audrey get hurt. When Audrey saw me, the joy in her eyes quickly turned to concern. "Mom, I'm fine. Don't cry. What happened? Which little brat hit you?" "I'll sort them out." Audrey covered my mouth with her free hand. "You can't say things like that. You're a public figure." "What on earth happened?" Audrey explained that since starting nursery, there had been a chubby boy bothering her, pulling her clothes and hair. At first, she'd made him cry by fighting back, but she'd been careful not to hurt him too badly. Yesterday, the chubby boy had learned some nasty things from somewhere. At lunchtime, he and a few other boys cornered Audrey and tried to make her kiss him. So Audrey fought them. Hearing this, I felt my blood boil. "Then what?" Audrey continued. "I immediately got the nanny to kick up a fuss and check the nursery's CCTV. We recorded it, but that fat boy's family is quite rich. They said we should consider ourselves lucky if they don't make us pay damages. The nanny called the police yesterday, but there's been no result yet. It's been a day, so I guess." Before she could finish, a group of people stormed into the pediatric ward, led by an old woman with sharp, cunning eyes. "Who's Audrey Barlow? This must be the chubby boy's family." "Here," I said coldly. At the same time, I started recording on my phone. If a child could do such a thing, the parents were surely no better. The old woman came over, looking me up and down with a sneer. "The daughter of an actress, how precious. If we weren't afraid of you making a fuss online, we wouldn't even bother." "What did you say?" I stood up, shielding Audrey behind me. The old woman snorted and threw a wad of cash at me. £3,000. "Count it." I didn't take it, letting the money fall to the ground. My anger was barely contained. "Are you here to apologize or to pay us off? If it's an apology, where's the boy who hit her? If it's compensation, we don't need it. It doesn't matter if the local police won't investigate. There are other police stations." Seeing I hadn't taken the money, the old woman glared at me viciously and bent down to pick up the cash. "My grandson just wanted a kiss. What's the big deal? Why make such a fuss?" At her age, being on TV, all dolled up and badly behaved, tempting my grandson and then playing the victim. Shameless. To deal with such a shameless old woman, I could only reach out and yank down her blouse. The old woman shrieked and pulled her clothes back up, cursing loudly. "What are you doing?" I sneered. "I just pulled your clothes a bit. What's the big deal? Why make such a fuss? At your age, not knowing to dress properly, you shameless old tart. Who are you trying to seduce, deliberately tempting all the old men while pretending to be innocent?" "Shameless." The old woman pointed at me, sputtering. You're the one who taught your grandson to corner my daughter, aren't you? What, didn't get enough action when you were young, so you're passing on your dirty tricks to your grandson? He's a little scumbag and you're an old one. Perfect match. Like grandmother, like grandson. Here's an idea, Why don't you take him with you when you die? That way you can teach him for eternity, in the next life and the one after that. The old woman was so angry she couldn't speak, stamping her foot before storming off. Everyone around was stunned, staring at me. I smiled politely. I'm sorry you had to see that, everyone. I turned to Audrey and held up my phone. Cry. Audrey understood immediately. She cried while explaining the whole situation between sobs. As I said before, they're rich. I had to be quick and post the video before they could threaten us. I edited the post, combining the CCTV footage, Audrey's account, and the video I'd just taken. Joke's on them. Audrey is now the nation's sweetheart with nearly 1 million followers. Only a brainless old woman like that would dare to mess with her. As soon as the video was posted, it caused an uproar. Audrey sighed, "Mom, you're too impulsive." I haven't even finished explaining. What is it, then? That fat boy ended up in hospital because of me. I bit his face and left it a mess. Well done. I thought about using the video. Never mind, I'm happy with this outcome. Audrey seemed to want to say more but held back. I ruffled her hair. Don't think too much about it, sweetheart. Let the adults handle these things. Worrying too much will stunt your growth. I knew Audrey was concerned about me. To have such a precious daughter, and she's mine. I gave birth to her. I couldn't be more content. The Chambers family didn't come forward to explain immediately. Instead, Lionel Sinclair approached me first. "Miss Barlow, let's have a chat." He was dressed in a sleek black suit, exuding an air of elegance and coolness. I used to be a fan of Lionel Sinclair, but that was before Audrey's incident. Lionel led me to a gazebo near the hospital building and got straight to the point. "I'm deeply sorry about this incident. I can cover Audrey's medical expenses, and I can also arrange a meeting with the Chambers family for you. I'll do my best to meet your demands." This left me at a loss for words, having prepared a barrage of harsh comments. All I could manage was an "ah." Lionel asked, "Did you think I came to smooth things over?" I nodded. After all, it was his nephew. I'm not a child. I can distinguish right from wrong. You don't need to worry about offending me and losing your footing in the entertainment industry because you've done nothing wrong. I felt a surge of emotion in my chest. I hadn't been wrong to admire him. My request is simple: handle this officially and apologize properly. All right, leave it to me. Lionel was very efficient. The Chambers family came to the hospital the next day, bringing Wilfred, who was wrapped in bandages. The old lady had lost her arrogance from yesterday, though her eyes still looked at me with resentment. Wilfred reluctantly apologized to Audrey. "I'm sorry. Please forgive me." Audrey turned her little face away. "I don't forgive you." Wilfred immediately became angry. "I've already apologized. What more do you want?" "Don't be so unreasonable. You bit my face too." I pushed him back, my face cold. "Just because you apologized, she has to accept it? Can you uneat the shit you've already eaten?" The old lady pointed at me. "Winifred Barlow, don't go too far. I'm not nearly as bad as you lot. Is this how you apologize? Looking at this scene, one might think you're here to collect a debt." Wilfred's father, who had been silent until now, coughed twice and spoke slowly. "Wilfred has already apologized, and I can compensate you. Delete the video, it's caused significant damage to my company." "Mr. Chambers, I think you've misunderstood." A clear voice sounded from outside the door. It was Lionel Sinclair. He walked in with several people behind him, coming to stand by my side as if to support me. "I called Mr. Chambers here not to smooth things over, but to settle accounts." He waved his hand, and the lawyer beside him said, "Mr. Chambers, your company is involved in tax evasion. This is a court summons. Regarding Mr. Chambers using his wife Jillian's connections to accept and offer bribes, we will investigate each instance thoroughly. Lastly, concerning Wilfred's involvement in group assault, although he is a minor, the impact is severe. We are legally summoning Mr. Chambers to the police station to assist with the investigation." After hearing this, Mr. Chambers was so angry his mustache seemed to twitch. In the end, the Chambers family scurried away with their tails between their legs. Lionel came to the bedside and gently patted Audrey's head. Are you feeling better? Audrey nodded. Thank you for your concern, Uncle. It doesn't hurt anymore. Lionel sighed, his hand moving down as if to pinch Audrey's chubby cheeks, but stopped when he saw the bruises. He turned to look at me. Don't worry, I'll resolve this matter. I nodded, a bold idea forming in my mind. Could it be that Lionel Sinclair was a fan of Audrey? The next day, I saw the trending topic about Lionel Sinclair and me. Looking at the abusive private messages and comments, I shook my head. As expected, the fans of the acclaimed actor Sinclair were quite aggressive in their attacks. A slender hand suddenly reached in front of me and took my phone away. Stop looking at that. I'll handle it, said a voice. I turned my head to see Lionel standing behind me, his expression calm but his eyes betraying obvious concern. I voiced the question that had been puzzling me. Mr. Sinclair, are you a fan of Audrey? I really couldn't think of any other reason. Lionel seemed surprised by my question, the tips of his ears turning red. Yes, he admitted. His eyes darted away uncomfortably, making him appear somewhat flustered. His demeanor made me smile. Oh, well, thank you for your help this time, Mr. Sinclair. No need to thank me. By the way, do you have any acting jobs lined up? I shook my head. Lionel let out a small sigh of relief. I have a script that's missing a supporting actress. You could audition for it, and if it works out, you could bring Audrey along. My eyes lit up. Brilliant. Audrey was truly my little lucky charm. I shared this news with my agent, who was even more excited than I was. To prepare for the audition, I secluded myself and worked tirelessly, determined to secure the role in one go. On the day of the audition, Lionel was there too. He took Audrey from me without hesitation, gently pinching her chubby cheeks, his eyes full of adoration. Without even glancing at me, he said, "Good luck." "I'll do my best," I replied. Audrey wrapped her arms around Lionel's neck and chirped, "Uncle, my mummy's super awesome." "I'm sure she is. Shall we go sit over there and wait for her? There are some snacks." "Okay." Throughout this exchange, Lionel didn't look at me once. I was merely a prop in this scene. If Lionel ever gets married, he'll definitely be wrapped around his daughter's little finger. After the audition, Audrey ran over to me, and I bent down to pick her up. "Mummy, how did it go?" "There were many who did better than me, I'm worried." Audrey planted a kiss on my cheek. "My mummy is the best, she'll definitely be chosen, right, Uncle?" Lionel, standing opposite us, chuckled and said, "Of course. But Audrey hasn't kissed Uncle yet, even though Uncle played with you for so long." His tone betrayed a hint of disappointment. Audrey climbed down from my arms and was immediately scooped up by Lionel. She gave him several kisses on his face. Satisfied now? Lionel's face was beaming, very satisfied, indeed. I watched the scene, shaking my head. "Let's go home, shall we? Any longer and my daughter might be whisked away." The audition results came out quickly, and I was selected. I knew Lionel had a hand in this, but I was determined not to let him down. When I joined the cast, the show I had previously filmed coincidentally started airing. Just as my agent had predicted, my supporting role catapulted me into the spotlight, and my reputation continued to improve. After joining the cast, Lionel was very attentive to me, patiently teaching me how to find the right emotions and how to act. 3 months later, we wrapped up filming. At the wrap party, Dulcie Poole, who played the lead actress, took advantage of Lionel's absence when he went to the restroom. Emboldened by alcohol, she confronted me. "Winifred, why is Lionel so attentive to you? Could it be that you two are?" "But wait, doesn't Lionel have someone he's been pining for?" Almost everyone in the crew knew that Dulcie fancied Lionel. I forced a smile. "What are you saying?" "Mr. Sinclair has always been kind to everyone, hasn't he?" Dulcie pressed on, "But it's different with you. He spends more time with you than anyone else." She stood up and came to my side. Let me see what kind of person could have Lionel so besotted. Her wine glass swayed precariously, the liquid threatening to spill on me. "Oh, Dulcie, you're drunk," I said, quickly standing up and pretending to support her while pushing the glass towards her. With a splash, her blouse was soaked through. At that moment, Lionel returned. Dulcie immediately changed her demeanor, looking pitiful. Winifred, I didn't say anything offensive, you. What's going on? Lionel came to my side. Dulcie was quick to accuse, I was just a bit tipsy and not thinking clearly. I asked some rather intrusive questions, and Winifred got angry and threw her drink at me. Lionel's expression remained unchanged, his voice cool. If you knew it was intrusive, don't blame others for reacting. Have you finished eating? He asked, looking down at me. I nodded. Then let's go. Audrey must be getting impatient. All right, I agreed. We left early, with Dulcie stomping her foot in frustration behind us. Outside, Lionel went to get the car. Once inside, I couldn't help but ask, Lionel, what do you think of me? Some things are better cleared up early. I'm not into shipping or romance, I'm just here to make money. Lionel glanced at me. Dulcie wasn't wrong. My heart skipped a beat, thinking, oh no. I do have someone I've been pining for, he finished slowly. My fantasies came to an abrupt halt, leaving me feeling awkward. Really, why did he have to pause so dramatically? That's good, I said, relieved. What, afraid that Dulcie was right? Afraid I might have feelings for you? He teased. I patted my chest, terrified. He let out a sigh. Don't worry. We can only be friends. If there's anything else. We happened to be waiting at a red light. He turned to look at me, his eyes twinkling with amusement. I'd like to be Audrey's godfather and introduce her to someone. Who? I asked, curiosity piqued. My wife, he said softly. I was shocked. You're married. Yes. Lionel explained that he had been married for 10 years, from school uniforms to wedding dress. He loved his wife deeply. But in the past, when his career was on the rise, he had neglected his wife a lot. At that time, his wife was pregnant, and he didn't know. Consequently, his wife later had an accident and miscarried. After that, she couldn't get pregnant again. His wife was heartbroken and felt very guilty. She gradually became depressed and never really recovered. When I saw Audrey, I thought, if I had a daughter, she would surely be as lovely and clever as Audrey. Winifred, if possible, I'd like to introduce Audrey to her. I nodded. That's absolutely fine with me, but you'll need to ask Audrey if she's willing. I will, he assured me. Lionel borrowed Audrey, leaving me all alone. But my agent didn't let me rest. I finally got to choose my own scripts. Haha. My future's looking bright. After the show with Lionel aired, surprisingly, everyone started shipping us together, completely ignoring Dulcie. As luck would have it, Dulcie got caught up in a scandal. The director spent all night re-editing, forcibly cutting me into the lead role. I felt like I must have been blessed by Lady Luck because insider information told me that through this show, I was sure to win an award. When I heard the news, my emotions were in turmoil. The goal I'd worked so hard for was finally within reach. On the night of the award ceremony, stars gathered for the grand and solemn event. The host was chattering away on stage. Let's welcome Winifred Barlow. The moment I heard my name, my mind exploded with a dazzling array of fireworks. I forgot to react. Audrey called out beside me, Mummy, go on stage. I was completely on autopilot as I walked onto the stage. The weight of the trophy in my hand suddenly made all these years of hardship seem insignificant. First, I want to thank my daughter, Audrey. Throughout this journey, Audrey's contribution has been invaluable. Before I could say much more, my eyes were already welling up. Below the stage, Audrey's little figure was bouncing up and down, beaming brightly. Mummy, you're the best. I love you the most. You're the most amazing. I broke into a tearful smile. Suddenly, Audrey pattered up onto the stage, gesturing for me to hand her the microphone. The next second, her sweet little voice rang out, Mummy's rich, online matchmaking in progress. I quickly covered her mouth. Don't take the child's nonsense seriously. Men are not to be trifled with. Waves of laughter erupted from the audience. After the lengthy acceptance speech, the award ceremony was drawing to a close. I carried Audrey back to our seats, whispering, Don't think about finding a man for your mom. I still want to live a few more years. Mummy, one must learn to look forward. Her little hand vaguely pointed, and as if possessed, I looked in that direction. The next second, my blood froze. In that dark corner in the distance stood a man, hands in his pockets, eyes fixed on me with an inscrutable gaze. That face was identical to my boyfriend who had died young. Mummy? I snapped back to reality, my heart starting to race wildly. I averted my gaze, slightly flustered. Because of a single comment from Audrey, countless men began offering themselves to her. I was truly both delighted and troubled by this. When I was stretched thin, Lionel said his wife wanted to meet me. The moment I saw her in person, I was struck by her beauty. Aunt Hazel, this is my mummy. Mummy, this is Uncle Lionel's wife, Aunt Hazel, Audrey introduced us. Hazel looked up and gave me a gentle smile. Hello. Hello, I'm Winifred Barlow, I replied. To my surprise, Hazel and I found we had many topics in common. We hit it off immediately, as if we'd known each other for years. Haha, Winifred, let me tell you, Lionel was absolutely hilarious when he was courting me. Hazel laughed heartily, completely dropping her posh facade as she chattered away about Lionel's embarrassing moments. I listened with wide eyes. I always thought Lionel was the cool, aloof type. Ha ha ha, that's all an act. He used to be the quintessential alpha male character from those cheesy romance novels. He'd always say things like, "Woman, you've successfully caught my attention." Ahem. A cough sounded from behind us. I turned around to see Lionel, and beside him stood another man. It was the same one I'd seen at the awards ceremony earlier. And who's this? I inquired. Hazel explained, this is my brother, Emmett. I extended my hand. Hello. Emmett nodded coolly. Hello. In that moment, my heart skipped a beat, then began to race. Suddenly, I understood the appeal of those romance novels.